Hello, my name is Abigail and I'm a first generation Canadian. My parents moved here from Jamaica to Canada.
Hello, my name is Amina Mohammed. I'm 18 years old and I was born and raised here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
My name is Timida Mohammed. I am a Somali Canadian and I was born and raised in Canada.
Hi, my name is Arwa. I am Canadian by birth and Eritrean by descent, meaning I have lived here my entire life.
My name is Vanessa Lewis and I am a first generation Canadian of Jamaican descent and I have lived in Canada my entire life.
So, being Black in Canada is odd because you'll experience so many microaggressions, but then the overall narrative is we're all equal, we're all treated equal, we're all the same. When you're Black in Canada, you'll experience anti-Blackness from white people and people of color, and even sometimes from your own community. Canada is very good at pretending that we're not racist and that diversity is what we thrive off and it's our strength and this and this and this, but we're not good.
To be Black in Canada is to understand and to experience on a daily basis the reality of racism, and yet to constantly have those experiences erased. Canada is like this benevolent, peaceful country, and so part of that reputation means that there's this refusal to own up to the current reality, the present reality of racism. Not racism as a distant reality, but as a constant everyday thing that people experience. And that can be really frustrating.
Being Black and Muslim is quite unique in my own experience, as it acts as a double-edged sword, as I am being deemed as a threat while also being deemed as the oppressed girl. Either or, it's still racism. Positively, it has really made me realize how beautiful my identities are, and knowing that I come from a community that is so loving and come from a background that is so rich in history and culture. Of course, it does have a negative impact, as there is always a target on your back, especially being a Muslim woman and a Black woman as well.
I would say growing up in Canada has been good overall. However, that hasn't stopped me from experiencing racism here in Canada, whether it's covert or overt. I would say being Black in Canada has taught me to be resilient, especially when facing adversities. It has taught me to be kind when I am faced with fear or hate. It has taught me to be empathetic in understanding others' pains, as well as joyous in celebrating others' differences and similarities.
I was born here, so I was always used to being in like a multicultural environment or a predominantly white environment. Being Black wasn't my main identifier I had for myself growing up. I was kind of like, I'm just a little girl trying to play with other little girls. It wasn't until I got a little bit older, I realized that the other kids had accepted Black as their primary identifier for me. I've been referred to like, oh, like that Black girl over there, or like this is my Black friend. It was just interesting having race become a primary identifier that was used by others.
There wasn't a specific incident that made me realize that I was part of a greater Black community, but there was definitely times in my life where I was made hyper aware of my Blackness, especially if I was in spaces where I was the only Black person. Like in my junior high, for 3 years, I was the only Black person in my junior high, and that was not a positive experience. This constant feeling of being excluded and of having to like code switch a little bit and just feeling out of place and uneasy. So in those spaces and at those times, there has been a hyper awareness, and that's when I'm like most aware that I'm part of a Black community.
When I was younger, I moved into a neighborhood that was predominantly immigrants of color, mainly Black, who are also Muslim, so most of my neighbors look like me. And in that circumstance, there was a lot of shared trauma that me and my neighbors had. There were white neighbors that we had that would threaten to call the police on us. It was a shared experience that was negative. Looking back, I thought that it was a result of poor problem-solving skills, but it really was a case of racism. Yes, we did have shared trauma, but we also shared a lot of love and compassion for each other. We shared resources with one another when one of us was experiencing some economic lows, we were always there for each other as a Black community, and that really made me feel like I was a part of the Black community because of the compassion and love that we shared for each other. It was very empowering.
The first time I was made to feel that I was Black was when I started elementary school. Kids were quick to point out my differences, whether or not that was my hair texture, my skin color, or my cultural mannerism. It made me feel like I didn't belong. Yes, I was technically included, but not feeling included at school. When the school bell would ring, some of my classmates would ignore me, as well as their parents and even the faculty. I do have some great memories though that overshadow that. Go into our predominantly Black church and feeling a strong sense of community and support there. Go into the hair salon with my mom, grandma, and sister every week and seeing the countless confident Black women there. Seeing my mom and my aunt plan so many events, as well as be on the boards for Black organizations, participating in and attending countless Black History Month events, reading the latest issues of Essence and Ebony magazines. In Canada, there was and still is a lack of diversity shown on TV. I remember it was a big joy when my mom would bring them home. My mom, my sister, and I would just devour those magazines.
My schools did not have large populations of Black people in them, but I did have, see Black people on the weekends, or, family friends, or my own family, or go to events with the Somali community and things like that. In the Somali community, there's lots of colorism, and there's lots of fat phobia, and there's lots of a bunch of different things that make it so that a space that is meant for you and meant for you to feel safe in with your community is somewhere that has been made not safe, because the parts of you that you can't change and the parts of you that are you are made fun of and degraded. Even if it might not be overt, it still hurts and it still affects you.
I did grow up in a community that was predominantly white. It's not new to me to be like the only Black individual in a classroom. I became a Black encyclopedia, a Black point of reference for a lot of my peers. Unfortunately for them, there is not a unanimous Black experience. It's such a diverse, such a beautiful group of people. At the time, North America's concept of beauty was very, Eurocentric. So I felt like a lot of the time I was looking from the outside in to the world of beauty. It made me realize that, this standard of beauty is not an accurate representation of what beauty is. It's just based off trends, off the, majority community. It really forced me to find my own understanding of what it means to be beautiful, and a standard that I could better relate to.
Growing up, even though there were times where I was in spaces where I might have been the only Black person in that space, my parents always made sure that we were around Black community. So whether that meant being around Somali people when I was at the mosque, or being part of a greater Black Muslim community when I would go to Duksi or Quran class on the weekends. If I had to go out into the real world when I was in junior high and face anti-Blackness and be the only Black person, I could go on the weekends to these community spaces or during the week and not feel out of place at those times.
As I mentioned before, I did grow up in a neighborhood where there were other people in that neighborhood that looked just like me. We grew up together in that neighborhood. A lot of us went to the same schools together. It affected my formation as a Black girl in the sense that I've accepted who I am for what I am. There wasn't any way that someone could deny me of my Blackness. I just found my own identity being just so beautiful and empowering because of the community that I lived in, and because I saw myself reflected in the community that I lived in.
There's nothing that I don't like about being Black. I love being Black, and I love that I am Black, and there's nothing that I would trade being Black for. So my favorite part about being a Black girl is Black joy, and partaking in it and seeing it.
I feel like Black girls are so diverse, so strong, where I think we have to be resilient. There is power being able to relate to other Black girls and that's such a strong community that I really value.
To be a Black woman is to be part of a legacy of phenomenal, talented, and amazing women who have paved the way for all of us. Black women have historically been part of the liberation of minorities at large. They created the culture that we know today in North America. They have raised families and literally built entire nations. To be a Black woman is to be part of that legacy and to know that is your history. And our very existence today as Black people means that the Black women who came before us survived in spite of racism and sexism, and in spite of living in a world that did everything in its power to strip them of agency and to kill them each and every day. And that's a really powerful legacy to be part of.
My favorite part of being a Black girl is being with other Black girls, because we are amazing. We're so giving, so loving and compassionate, and just a great time to be around. And that's my favorite part of being a Black girl, is just sharing experiences with one another. I think being around each other is very uplifting and empowering, because even though we share the trauma, we uplift each other in a way that's really healing and powerful.
My favorite part about being a Black girl is that it's empowering and it's full of richness. Our experiences are unique, and I think that's a fantastic thing. It fills so much depth into our lives and adds so much more richness that carries into our communities. We are natural born leaders, we're trendsetters, we're agents of change, and the list goes on and on and on.
The advice that I would give a young girl growing up in Canada who's Black is to love yourself and to know that somebody out there loves you and somebody will always hold space for you. We love you. I don't know what else to say. I wish I could say this to myself when I was younger, that I'll be beautiful, you'll be beautiful forever. Like, you're beautiful today and you're beautiful tomorrow and you were beautiful yesterday and you'll be beautiful in 10 years because you're amazing, you know? I just want you to know that.
To a young Black girl, I would say you're beautiful. Your skin's beautiful, your hair is beautiful, especially if there is no good hair. Healthy hair is good hair. Embrace your own standard of beauty.
And the advice that I would give to young Black girls growing up in Canada is to know that, like, whatever you're experiencing on a daily basis that makes you feel frustrated, that makes you feel tired, that makes you feel as if your voice is not valued and heard, you're not alone in that experience. Those feelings are valid. They're not just in your head. There are those who have come before you that have lived those same realities. But I think that one thing I want Black girls to know is that there are people in their communities who value and love them and who are working every single day to make the world a safer place for them. Even if that looks like creating community spaces like EBG, where Black women and Black girls can be together and feel held and as if their experiences are real in those moments. I want Black girls to know that ultimately it gets easier. Like, at one point in your life, you're gonna become more comfortable with the person that you're becoming. I think that the most powerful and important thing that you can do is to let go of fear and self-hatred and being self-critical and step into your own light, and to recognize that the only opinion that really matters is your own opinion. And the most powerful and revolutionary thing that you can do as a Black girl is to love yourself in spite of everything that the world has tried to teach you, has tried to strip you of, has conditioned you to love yourself in the tradition of our mothers and of the women who came before us, who loved us enough to survive.
My advice that I would give to any young Black girl growing up in Canada is to protect yourself. Protect yourself, protect your well-being, and surround yourself with people that love you and care for you and uplift you and see the magic within you. And to just make sure to always love on yourself first and foremost, because that's something that nobody can ever take away from you.
The advice I would give you is that you will most likely face some sort of adversity. It may hurt, and that's okay. Please, you're allowed to feel that pain. You're human. Over time, you will learn how to manage this the best way for yourself. You will become more resilient, confident, and empowered. Just remember to not dim your light to make others shine brighter, as well as don't dim someone else's light to make your light shine brighter. There is more than enough space in this world where everybody's light can shine brightly and even more stronger together. As a Black woman, I am cheering you on every single step of the way, and I know that you will live your best full life, and I know that you got this.